Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight, we have extra special guest on tonight. Our guest is Alex Berrios. He is an extraordinary kidney advocate, former kidney transplant patient, and current dialysis patient seeking a kidney transplant. You can help Alex out by going to his National Kidney Registry microsite at https dot backslash nkr.org backslash capital YFM 539. And that link is in the comments, and you'll find all sorts of interesting things about Alex in the comments tonight as well. At the age of 26 and after a move to Kentucky, Alex discovered that he had been born with only one kidney, and unfortunately, it was failing. He was on hemodialysis for 18 months before his first kidney transplant from a living donor. This transplant lasted 13 years. During his transplant period, he had two children, became a great kidney advocate for others, and created a life that he loved. Unfortunately, by 2020, after struggling to prolong the life of his transplant, his second kidney failed and he was placed back on dialysis. This has become a challenge for Alex. His first 18 months of dialysis, he did peritoneal dialysis at home, 10 hours each evening, between difficulties with scheduling and episodes of peritonitis that landed him in the ICU, COVID 19, trouble with electrolytes, phosphorus, dehydration, and exhaustion. A change had to be made. So by the end of May of 2022, his doctor switched him to in-center hemodialysis with the warning that he may have died if he continued on PD. He presently continues on hemodialysis and is waiting for his second kidney transplant. He has a great desire that that second kidney transplant take place so he can continue his kidney advocacy, be a great father to his children, and a better partner for his future wife. Please give a warm welcome to our friend, the great Alex Berrios Jr. is with us tonight. Alex, how you doing?
Good, Jim. Good. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for this wonderful platform. I always enjoy being able to share any insight I can on this unfortunately misunderstood disease. And I am glad I'm here to have this conversation with you. So, thank you again.
Great, great. Did I state everything correctly in the introduction?
Oh yes, perfect. You spot on. Yes, sir.
Please tell us a little bit about how and where you grew up, your educational experience, and your employment history.
Sure. So, thank you. So, I am a 42-year-old man. I currently live in Louisville, Kentucky, but I was born and raised in Bridgeport and New Haven, Connecticut. Was there for most of my childhood and young adulthood. Went to college at a state university in Connecticut called Southern Connecticut State University, where I was in school for. I did a liberal studies degree with a minor in psychology, and after I was done with college, I moved out to Arizona and took the opportunity to hike the Grand Canyon for 1 year and have that opportunity to kind of just explore and kind of just do something before I kind of settled down into anything. And while in Arizona in that year, while I was out there hiking, I was waiting tables to make some extra money and living there. So that was a great experience. Beautiful, beautiful surround. The Southwest is beautiful. The people were great. And it was there where I met a woman from Kentucky, and I followed her back to Kentucky after being in the Grand Canyon for the year. This was in 2004 to 2005. It was when I moved to Kentucky, and I've been in Kentucky ever since. My employment history, I do a lot of work in a myriad of different. I've done a lot of work in a myriad of different departments. I've done things with direct care work with people with special needs, like folks with Down syndrome and autism. I've done a lot of coaching and everyday like life skills and activities, daily living, helping achieve how to like balance a checkbook, to go to the grocery store. I did that for a while. I've worked also in insurance as a health coach for a while, and I have done a lot of kidney work as well. I've done some volunteering with the National Kidney Foundation and some other organizations, and we can get into that later. But work-wise, I worked for the University of Kentucky for their transplant program while I was transplanted. I worked as a patient advocate, and I helped to kind of be a liaison between the patient and the dialysis center and the transplant center. So if a patient had a question about where they were on the list, or they had a question about what they wanted to do or what they needed to do, I would help to kind of expedite that and then get them connected with that referral. And then I would also be and then also on the transplant side, if a coordinator had a question for me to relay to a patient who's actively already listed, I would look to help them make sure to get that question answered, or get whatever content needed to be brought to the patient. I would do as well. I would also produce and make lunch and learn to kind of just do an education to like dialysis centers to talk about like our statistics, what University of Kentucky was able to do, with transplants for the state, like, how many have they done in a given year, what's the graft survival rate, those kinds of things. I did that for a couple of years, right before, and then COVID hit. Once COVID hit, I was I was laid off, and so I was collecting unemployment, and had an opportunity. I was still wanting to do something in the kidney space, so with now my current job, I was looking at a value-based company called Cricket Health. It's a value-based kidney program that helps patients from in different areas of the country who may be in earlier stages of the disease, all the way to people on dialysis as well. But we look to kind of help them achieve as healthy of a situation they can be in, where we give them a resource where they get a clinical team, where they talk with a nurse, a social worker, a dietitian, and a pharmacist over the phone and through our website platform we have. So my job in operations was to basically make these phone calls to these patients, explain to them the program, and encourage them to enroll in the program either on their own or with help from me. And then we would continue to kind of like show through patient outcomes that less hospitalizations saves a lot of people money. That's where the value base comes in, right? So I've been with Cricket almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in October. And yeah, that's kind of me right now. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about your kidney history.
Sure.
I understand that around April of 2006, at the age of 26, shortly after you moved to Kentucky, you discovered that you had only been born with one kidney and it was failing.
Yes.
Tell us how this came about. What were the circumstances that led you to this discovery?
So in that time frame, I had just moved here to Kentucky. I'd been here maybe 3 or 4 months, and I had some symptoms that I thought were just like food poisoning or just a cold or the flu, and I was finding that anything I ate or drank, I just couldn't get down. I was just not feeling well, and I was like, I need to see somebody. But I had just moved to Kentucky. I had just started a job that didn't yet have the insurance, so I was leery to no insurance. At some point, I was getting so sick I needed to go. So I went first, though, to an immediate care clinic at a local grocery store where they can kind of do labs and check things out. Well, I went to this one place where they were doing free blood pressure screenings, and I was like, well, let me check my blood pressure. And it's always been usually pretty in range and stable. Well, when they checked it, it was like 215 over like 120. I mean, it was unbelievably high. And so I decided, well, okay, I have high blood pressure, and they were afraid that I was going to have a stroke on them. So they like put me in a dark room, laid me down. They were concerned for my well-being and my health. And so what was funny, and I think about this every time, like that day I went, I felt fine. I had no symptoms I was feeling okay that day. I had no headache, nothing. The day before and the day before that, I was like, I was feeling horrible. I was getting nosebleeds. I had dry skin. Like my lips were really dry. I had all the symptoms, knowing what I know now. I was like, oh, that was definitely all the kidneys acting up, but I didn't know that at the time. I was completely naive to it. So ultimately, I was in the hospital for like 3 days with no insurance, and they ran a bunch of tests. They did an ultrasound of looking for my kidneys, and they only found one kidney. They were like, "Where's your second kidney?" I'm like, "I don't know. It should still be there." And they were like, "Yeah, we it's not here." And so I was like, "Oh, okay." So for the first 26 years of my life, I had the one kidney, and didn't know that didn't know that. And so they told me, it's going to be pretty immediate. You're going to need to start dialysis. So Easter weekend in April of 2006 is when I started dialysis for the first time.
Okay. It's my understanding that was in-center hemodialysis. Is that correct?
Sir. Correct. Mm-hmm.
And where approximately was that you started hemodialysis?
Where in Louisville, Kentucky. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Little shout out here. Our friends Candy Gagney stopped in to say hi. Bobby Reed is saying hello tonight. And God, there was one other comment that I'm missing it. My bad. Hang on. Oh, Chris. I'm sorry. Chris Ann Hernandez.
Hey, everybody.
Saying hello to us. So Alex and I are saying hello back. All right. So you were on in-center hemodialysis. Mm-hmm. It's my understanding you spent 18 months on hemodialysis. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I was on in-center hemodialysis for 18 months. And it was funny in that situation for this first time around. I had people wanting to test or what were interested in. I had, shared my story a little bit to church I was attending at the time, and talked to the congregation. And some people came up to me and said, "We want to test and see what it would look like." And what was funny is we didn't know. This was me and my fiance at the time. We didn't know how to say yes. We were like, let's just handle our stuff, like just kind of insular, just her and I, and deal with the dialysis and deal with the schedule. And so we didn't really know how to say, like, okay, go ahead and test. And then for the first maybe 6 months to 9 months while I was on hemodialysis, I had several surgeries. I had several, I had to get ports put in, and my fistula where it wasn't working, and I was in and out of the hospital forever. And so we then came back to the congregation, and a particular lady, her name is Kathy Belcher. She's the lady who donated to me, but she came up to me and said, "Hey, Alex, she's like, I'm serious. Like, I really think, I would like to test to see if I'm a good donor for you." And so we said, okay, well, we gave her the phone number to the transplant center here in Louisville. And she, oh my gosh, she was such a firecracker with it. And when she was able to get tested and be transplanted within like maybe 2.5 months, I mean, it was like unbelievably quick. Like I think it was like maybe February or March of 2007, she kind of came up to us, or we came to her and we're like, okay, if you're interested in testing, here's what you need to do. And then she walked me every step of the way, who she was talking to, what she was doing, who she was meeting with. And that was great. That's what I'm hoping this next time around will happen. But so far, well, not yet. But so this is what she did. And so so she went from like, it started the process like February, March. Like in May, we knew that in June I was going to get a kidney. It was pretty quick. Yeah, it was exciting. So that happened, relatively quickly. So it was 18 months while I was on in-center, and then was able to get the transplant from Kathy, and 13 good years of it.
Okay, just so you know, Orlando Torres has checked in all the way from Puerto Rico. Wanted to say hi to you.
Hey, Orlando. Yeah, I know who he is. Yeah, thank you, buddy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit more specifically about some of the challenges that you faced while you're on dialysis. My notes tell me fistula issues, blood clots, infiltration in the hospital 25 times over 18 months. I mean, you had some real challenges, didn't you?
Oh, they were huge. They were horrible. I mean, I was young, and like I was able to bounce back from them, all things considered. I was in my 20s at the time, and so yeah, no, it was a lot. I mean, there was just always like either with I don't have the best of veins, and so like when they were trying to stick me, my fistulas, it wasn't working. And so it would infiltrate, or it would clot. It would, I mean, you name it. It was just horrible. And like, so that was just something that, I had one, at one point with one of my catheters I had in my chest. I was holding a baby at an event, and she pulled out my catheter. I'll never forget that. I was like just and like I didn't even really feel it. Like I'm used to having it, and so I didn't know, all of a sudden it was in her hand, and I wasn't bleeding. Luckily, like it didn't bleed out. Like I was able to just still put pressure on it, and it never bled. And for one night, I was able to have no catheter until the next day, until they put a new one in. But I remember thinking like that was just, so I've had a fair share of events of things happen, between the fistulas, infiltrating, to the catheter being pulled out, to just, and they always say with catheters, there's no long-term use of catheters. They're highly easier to get infected. So, and it was true. It was very true.
Right. We were talking a little bit about some of the steps that you took to find a donor for kidney transplant, and the lady from church that helped you out. When did this kidney transplant take place?
It happened on June 21st of 2007 is when it happened here in Louisville. Yeah, like I said earlier, she was quick to like go through all the process, the steps, like in a 2.5 to 3 month period, and was able to do it. It was unbelievable. She was quick. She was like, I want to do this for him, and I want to get back to work. And she was able to, within like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, be able to get back to work. And yeah.
Okay. Our heroine's name again, please?
Her name is Kathy Belcher.
Way to go, Kathy.
Yeah.
All right. So you had the transplant. Did you have any challenges after your transplant? Any post-care challenges after transplant?
I think I had a small bout of I'm trying to remember. Shortly, and they always say usually in the first years when you're going to have most of your problems. And I probably had a couple of small acute problems. I wish I could remember. It was such a long time ago. So to be honest with you, I don't remember the specifics. I may have had a small hospitalization because of like an acute episode of just an infection, and so they were worried about my numbers go rising, but I don't remember the specific, honestly, what exactly happened in that case. But I mean, I think I had a minor issue. They gave me they gave me some antibiotics and sent me on my way, and it was okay. Yeah.
So that 13 years that you were transplanted, those were pretty level then.
For the
not
most
quite
part.
As challenging as your dialysis years.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, I mean, I had a few bouts of a couple of issues. Probably in year 10 of my transplant, actually, I had an acute rejection episode, and they had to do a biopsy. So they went ahead and did the biopsy, and actually found out in my transplanted kidney that I have an autoimmune disorder called IgA nephropathy, which they don't know for a fact. They're hedging their bets that they think that I had it with my native kidney, but nobody can tell now at this point. So, but they saw when they did the biopsy, when I was having this acute rejection episode, that I had IgA nephropathy, and I had no idea what that was. And so my nephrologist at the time told me what it was, and how it kind of can lay dormant. Excuse me, can lay dormant, and can come out at all times, because of infection or different reasons. And so they gave me a bunch of steroids for an infusion, IV infusion of steroids, and then oral steroids for like maybe about a year, maybe less. And it was horrible. Though that was not fun. That year 10 mark was tough because it was like, steroids just made me really angry and jittery, and all the side effects that come with steroids. But it did help keep the kidney at bay and brought the numbers back down to like probably, I can't remember what my creatinine GFR were, but I do remember they stabilized it for at least 2 more years. And then around COVID time is when, like I said, in July of 2020, my GFR and creatinine were just, I think my GFR was at like maybe like 25%, I want to say, maybe 20. And so they were like seeing it was going to go getting there. I was like, oh, great. Okay. So, I kind of knew, and I was feeling some of the symptoms of it too. I was a lot of exhaustion, lots of heaviness. Blood pressure was okay, I think, at the time. I'm trying to remember now. I think it was okay. But so with all that said, they were like, well, Alex, like, we think it's time. You're going to have to go back on dialysis. So I said, okay. And here we are.
Okay, let's talk about some of the good things that happened during that 13-year period.
Of course.
I understand that you had 2 children during that period of time.
So yes, so I have 2 children. I have an 11-year-old daughter named Abigail and a 6-year-old son named Xander. So to back up a little bit, like when I first moved to Kentucky, I followed a woman from Kentucky here, and so she and I got married, and then I got sick first. Excuse me, I got sick with my kidney disease, and she was with me and helped me out through some things, and she was, it was a blessing to have her available as my partner and helping me with that. But through all of it, though, I mean, through 9 years of being married and dealing with being a patient and a caregiver, there was some struggles there as well. And we eventually divorced after about 9 years of marriage. So, but when we were married, we had our daughter together, Abigail, and she's now 11. And then, so after I got divorced, I met my new partner. Her name is Tamira, and she and I have been together almost 8. It'll be 8 years 8 years in November. And we have a son together. His name is Xander, and he's going to be 7 in August. And so it's a blended family, but it's working. It's going okay. It's, nothing perfect, but it's we're doing what we can. And so becoming a father, getting in this transplant. I tell Kathy all the time. I said, Kathy, if it wasn't you giving me a kidney back when you did, I wouldn't be a father right now. And I thank you for that. And being able to see them grow and play with them and impart any kind of knowledge. That's good stuff.
Okay. Let's talk about your kidney advocacy, both during this period and since that time. What are the types of things that you've been up to, and for what groups have you been advocating with?
Yeah, I've done a myriad of different advocacy. I first started with the National Kidney Foundation and doing a lot of lobbying with in DC and helping in the political arena and helping to kind of help promote bills like the Living Donor Protection Act and getting some funding for NIH. I've gone to DC with you, Uncle Jim. We've been there together, traveling to DC and talking to our state politicians about the importance of kidney disease, the importance of passing these bills. I've done that for the last couple of years. I've also worked with the American Association of Kidney Patients as a state ambassador of Kentucky, and helped to kind of navigate and been part of some of their webinars and been a patient on some panels and stuff like that for them. I've also worked with the National Kidney Foundation, AKP.
AKF?
AKF, yeah, I've worked with AKF a little bit as well. I've gotten connected with some resources with them and helped to kind of. I've not done any actually lobbying with them yet, but I've been in conversation of when they've reached out to me about looking for patients who have certain conditions. I've helped to kind of lend my voice to certain topics. Done that. I'm also an NKF peer mentor. And I was mentoring some folks who were getting ready to get transplanted when I was transplanted. So that was kind of cool, making those phone calls and talking to those patients who are going through that journey. I've also done public speaking and shared my story with different industries in the pharmaceutical industry, with the kidney care, with CareDx, a company called Nephria Bio. They're talking about they're looking at innovative wearable technology and devices for dialysis. And so I may have been in conversation with folks about what that's going to look like and what it's going to shape out to look, what it'll look like, what it'll feel like, and looking for insight from patients like myself about what that would look like in the future. I've done stuff with xenotransplantation and had conversations with some docs and some folks about what that would look like, and if you're a patient, would you consider xenotransplant as an option for transplantation? So I've been in conversations and committees about like how to spread that word and get that content out there to folks.
Okay, talk a little bit about the work that you've done with the FDA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the FDA, when I was working with them, I was partnered with a few other fellow patients who were both all transplanted. There were 3. There was a liver, a lung, and 2 kidney people, and myself. And we basically were in a room, and it was like a open public forum meeting to discuss medication regimen and how to basically make it easier for patients to take their medications, be it through setting a timer, or be it through utilizing like a pill dispenser where a machine will just kind of pop out your pills for you. So they were looking for insight in like what we did to help make sure we took our medicine. If it is the font on the lettering bigger, because you got older folks too who just may not be able to see the labels or can't open the bottle. So like my conversation with them was looking at ways and concepts to figure out how to make that easier for patients to take their meds and keep compliant with it. So with the FDA is kind of where that started, and sitting and having that conversation, and that kind of got my juices flowing with all the advocacy I've been doing ever since. That was in 2018 when I was still transplanted, and I've been still doing a myriad of different patient advocacy committees, like I said, with Nephria Bio, with CareDx, with other industry places as well, xenotransplant folks as well.
Okay. You talked to us a little bit about some of the things that you were trying to do to prevent rejection in your 10th year. After your 10th year, were there other things that you did to try and prevent your transplanted kidney from rejecting?
I looked at, so I did some what they call IVIG, and I did plasmapheresis. The steroids, of course, those were the big three that they gave me to do. Obviously, I changed my medicine a little bit here or there, and having a conversation with my doctor about what that would look like, and making sure I'm taking the right dose and things of that nature. That was really it. I mean, I watched what I was eating still, of course, trying to be mindful of some of the things that were high in phosphorus or potassium or those things. So to keeping it so it's not like, it's not angering the kidney, because it was already sort of on its way out as it was anyways.
Okay. I have a note that says around 2020, that's when your transplanted kidney failed. Can you talk to us a little bit about what happened, how you discovered it, and what they did for you?
Yeah, so it was through my labs. I was seeing my nephrologist, and she was I was seeing her in I think it was in January of 2020, maybe right before COVID, and I was seeing my numbers were kind of creeping up in the wrong direction, and so I was again feeling really heavy. So they gave me some more medicine to kind of change it, but I had a hospital stay at some point because I had an infection. I had C. diff, and I had another infection. I don't remember what it was. So they ultimately basically told me, okay, your kidneys, you're on your way out. It's better to get you to start dialysis now. There was not anything specific. I don't remember what the infection was exactly that caused it, but it was just more like, again, looking at the levels and looking at the labs that were going downhill, and said, okay, it's time to go back on dialysis.
Okay. At the time that you went back on dialysis, it's my understanding that you were on peritoneal dialysis at home for a period of about 18 months. Can you tell us a little bit about the time that you were doing dialysis, and how many hours and exchanges and that sort of thing?
Sure. So I did peritoneal dialysis. So I did hemodialysis for 6 weeks. They put in my port, and in about September, October of 2020 is when I started started peritoneal dialysis. And I did exchanges about 9.5 hours at first. And then by the end, before I stopped doing it, it got up to 10 hours. And I was using a cycler in the beginning, and then I found that the cycler wasn't really working. It was just causing a lot of bloating, and just I wasn't liking it. So I then went back to manual exchanges, but then the manual exchanges weren't working great either, because again, my lifestyle wasn't conducive to always making sure to stop and set a timer and go and do a fill and a drain and all that stuff. So then I went back on that cycler again after maybe the last 6 months I did, about 6 months went back on the cycler. So I went cycler, all manuals, and then back to the cycler. And then I found that the cycler was still okay, but they were still struggling with my numbers, and I wasn't getting good clearance. After all the ups and downs of the peritonitis, and I have 2 dogs, 2 kids, and a fiance, and I just found my lifestyle wasn't necessarily great. I'll be very transparent. I was not the best with my aseptic techniques. I wish I could say I was a great one, but I was not. And so that caused a lot of issues with my peritonitis, the bouts I had of it. And so with that, I found that I needed to move on and do something different. The last time I had peritonitis, I actually found out they gave me. So I found out I've had peritonitis twice, I think twice. The first time I had it, they gave me vancomycin to help kind of clear it. They say that's supposed to help clear it. Well, apparently I'm allergic to vancomycin. Didn't know it. And so I had what they call DRESS syndrome. I went septic. My sugars went high. I got bloaty. I got I mean, it was the worst experience of my life. Like I felt like I was near death. Like people were showing me pictures of me and they're like, man, you look horrible. I'm like, thanks. And I felt horrible, but you don't know it until you don't know it, right? Like, so I had this thing called DRESS syndrome, which is a drug reaction. I don't know what the E and the S stand for, but it's called DRESS. If you Google it, you can find it. But basically, it's a reaction to antibiotics. And my antibiotics, like I would itch, I had dry skin, I was peeling. It was just a horrible experience. And so they had to keep me in the hospital for like 2 weeks and like put all these creams on me and make sure my sugars were okay, because I'm not diabetic, but my sugars were going like into the 300s, 400s because of the steroids. So I had to check my sugar all the time, and that was a mess. So once they cleared that up, it was fine, and then it, for whatever reason, that might have just kind of made the kidney stuff, my clearance, like my when I was doing my dialysis with the cycler, when they would do my KT over V, or my, the check to see my clearance, I wasn't clearing very well. I wasn't passing clearance at all. I was very close, but I wasn't passing. And so I was like, why am I not getting good clearance? And they never were able to really tell me why I couldn't get good clearance, but that just basically for me to go back to in-center. So here I am. I went back to in-center, like I said, in May of 2022.
Okay. I understand that you had some challenges with COVID as well. Can you talk to us about that a little bit?
I did. In around Christmas time of 2021, I was visiting my family in Connecticut, in New York. Or New York actually is where my family from Connecticut came in, but I was in New York for the Christmas holiday. So I visited my family up there, and I happened to have caught it while I was up there. And so I just got COVID when I was up there traveling, in an airport, and I was masked up and all. I was boosted. I wasn't boosted. I had my first vaccine. I don't think I had my second shot yet at the time. So I had a vaccine, but I still got it. I was out for the count for about a week. Pretty bad, and nothing too terrible. I mean, all things considered, I mean, I've met many people who've had it worse than me, but yeah, I got COVID and just rang it out, and just, kept myself away from my family, and drank a lot of soups and kept myself hydrated, and it ran its course.
Okay. My notes tell me you had issues with electrolytes, phosphorus, dehydration, exhaustion. Can you address those things a little bit?
Most definitely. Yeah. So my electrolytes and and definitely I'll say my phosphorus, my phosphorus was always a challenge to keep up. And so I had like severe itching because of that. That's the biggest thing that you find, you don't really feel. The only thing you feel when your phosphorus is high is itching. I mean, there's nothing else that you really notice other than that. So that was really uncomfortable. I was on dialysis, both with in-center and PD. It was worse on PD, honestly. It's gotten a lot better. It's not nearly as bad. I'm still working on trying to get it down. It's still pretty high, my phosphorus. It's in the 10s, like 10.1. I know they like it below, they want it below 7, I think, or 6.
5.
Yeah. See, yeah, exactly.
5.1 to be exact.
Yeah. So it's I'm double that right now. So I've been working on trying to kind of looking at my diet and trying to how to get that figured out. It's been frustrating. That's part that's not sure, I'm taking my binders and making sure to be mindful of it. That's my biggest hiccup. I mean, everything else, all my other levels, my electrolytes, the dehydration was always a challenge, because I feel like when you're on dialysis, you're always told to limit your fluids. And so, you don't drink a lot. And so I find that I just learned to not drink so much, but sometimes I need to drink enough to not get myself the other direction. Right. So I would find myself to not drinking a lot. And so I'm learning to drink just the amount of right, and I'm trying to get better with it. So it's a work in progress with that.
Okay. You mentioned to us that by May of 2022, the doc switched you back to hemodialysis, in-center hemo.
Mhm.
And is that where you're at currently?
Yes, sir. I'm currently doing in-center hemo. Yes. I do it 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I do an early shift. I do from like 5:30 a.m. to about 9:30 a.m.
I was going to say, I saw you made a post on Facebook the other day,
Yeah.
and your Uncle Jim has insomnia, so I was awake at that hour, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking,
Yeah.
man, he's on dialysis at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
So, and you were all bundled up in the blanket, and you had
Yeah. Hat on. Yeah.
the hat on. You look cold, man.
I was. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the steps that you have currently taken to try and find another kidney donor. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm currently listed in 2 different transplant centers in my area, with the University of Kentucky in Lexington, Kentucky, and the University of Cincinnati in Cincinnati, Ohio. I've been working with both programs. I've been listed longer with UK. I've been there with almost 2 years listed with them, and with UC, I've been listed since April of this year, April 2022. I've been involved with the National Kidney Registry, the NKR, which Uncle Jim mentioned earlier in the beginning of our broadcast, that shares my story, and also gives the opportunity to folks to understand about living donation. And there is a link at the bottom of that page that goes right to the UC's online questionnaire. So if anybody is interested in donating or testing to donate, you fill out that survey, and they'll be able to walk you through, the steps if you're a good candidate. And then they'll send you some local labs for you to do. And then once you fill that out, you take the next step and move forward in the process. So I've been doing that, and then I'm also working with a local group here in Louisville called the Mulligans Kidney. I don't remember the name exactly, but we call them Mulligans Group. It's located here in Louisville. It's a nonprofit where a whole group, and there's a really good community of folks who are looking to help people find living donors through a myriad of different ways. If it's making T-shirts, if it's having bumper stickers, if it's going on TV and doing a newscast. I am actually going to be doing one in either August or September with a local radio station here in Louisville to share my story. So I'm hoping to get my story out on the radio. I also have an ad out on Facebook. So when you're scrolling on Facebook, you may see I have a kidney Facebook page, to look for a donor. So you can look at that page, and then from there you can kind of hear my story, and go to that same link with that questionnaire. So if you're interested in being a donor, you would go that route as well. I'm also getting ready to have some conversations with some folks in and around like just my community through my church. Like I said earlier, I may talk to my congregation and just kind of share my story as well, and then also look at those are the options right now I have going right now.
Okay, and just so the folks know, the link to the microsite from the National Kidney Registry, the link to the other group that Alex mentioned, the link to his Facebook page, all of that is in the comments to this broadcast.
Cool.
So if you're interested in helping Alex out, go to the comments, click on the links, check things out. Please share. That's the main thing that we want you to do. Please share. And not just, you can share in your kidney groups. You can share in one of Uncle Jim's kidney groups. That's cool with me. All right. But be sure you share on your personal page too. Because remember, we're trying to reach out to people that don't have kidney issues, that don't have problems donating. So, you want to make sure that, Alex is a good guy. Let's help him out. Okay. So share to your regular page, share to Twitter, share on Instagram, be dancing around on TikTok, whatever it is that you need to do. Okay. But let's try to help our buddy out a little bit here. Tell me a little bit about why a second kidney transplant is important to you.
Oh gosh, I mean, I was fortunate enough to be able to have a first one, right? So knowing what that was life was like and being able to have the freedom to travel, freedom to be able to be with my kids and grow old with them and to be able to watch them, you know, start school and have their first date and have their first driver's, like, help teach them how to drive. Like, I want to be alive and around for them for that. I want to be able to be there for, my fiance and be able to travel and see the world and go and travel to, all the different nice places we want to go to. We have, big dreams and stuff. So I want to be able to, like, not be tethered to a machine, and then know that, okay, if it's medication I have to take, I've done that. I know I can do it again. So to be able to just only have to take medicine, not have to be stuck to a machine 3 days a week for 4 hours.
Okay. We're in the home stretch here,
Oh, sure.
Alex. Is there anything else that you would like to discuss before we close the conversation for the evening? Is there anything I forgot to bring up? Is there anything on your mind that you want to talk about? You want to make sure the folks know?
Sure. No, I just wanted to share with everybody. First, I thank you, for taking the time to watch this, either obviously now live or at your replay. I appreciate you hearing my story, and I just want you to know that, like, I'm gonna pay it forward the best I can, and continue to educate and advocate for the patients that I've talked to when I was transplanted, and even as a patient now. Like, I'm a patient first. I'm not a data point, so I know that I'm here to give people resources and to give hope, and to know that, like, if I can reach one person in this world and help them understand what this disease is about, I'm here to answer any questions and give people peace of mind to know that it's not a death sentence, and that you're going to be okay, and you will survive this. And to please share my page. I'm looking for a donor. I'm looking to get back to living my full life, and to be the best father, and to be husband soon, and friend to everybody. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate this platform, and I look forward to continuing to educate and advocate for folks. Thanks again.
Okay, so we want to thank everybody for watching. In particular, I want to thank Alex for coming on, telling his story, giving us an opportunity to share. It's been a great learning experience. We've raised a little awareness tonight, and as you know, that's always the goal of these broadcasts. We try to make everybody a little smarter about kidney stuff if we can.
Definitely.
So great job tonight, Alex. I appreciate you coming on. I gotta close up. I'm going to let you go. You're free to leave.
Okay.
And thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. Man, we learned an awful lot tonight.
Thanks for giving me time. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful day.
All right, you too, buddy.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
All right, so that's our show for tonight. We will talk very, very soon. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.